Hello again, welcome back. Okay, just to finish this little subject about, originally I was comparing the parliamentary system with the presidentialist system. I prefer the presidentialist system. When you vote for the President of the United States, that person is in office for 4 years. And he or she stays in office for 4 years. In parliamentary systems, the president of the government or the prime minister can be in power for only 8 months. And then there's a censure vote or a no confidence, voto de no confianza, de censura. And they change. And so it's more likely in parliamentary systems for a greater degree of instability in the office of the prime minister. For example, as I've told you several times, in the 19th century, there were more than 120 different prime ministers in Spain during a period of 85 years from the year of 1815, after the Napoleonic Wars. Up until the end of the century, there were about 110 or 120 different prime ministers. It was a mess. Can you imagine having a new boss every 9 months? A total mess. And during the Second Republic, after the abdication of Alfonso XIII, those 5 years there were 12 different prime ministers. So I don't agree with the parliamentary system because for me it's more unstable, although it is more direct representation in the parliament. It's more unstable. Nevertheless, political science, it's a fascinating field, studying political science. But I'm not an expert in political science, really. I studied it because in secondary school it's mandatory to take civics, cívica se dice en inglés, civics. I don't know how to say civics. El hecho cívico, el hecho público. I don't know how to say civics. Interesting. I wonder. Let me see if I have word reference. Let me go into word reference for a minute and let me look up, because when I was in 8th grade is octavo de secundaria, bueno, octavo año, segundo de secundaria. In this case, I was 14 and I had to take 1 year of civics. A ver lo que dicen aquí. Civics. Cívica. That's as an adjective. I can't read it. It's too far away. When I'm in this room, I can't see. Ciudadanía. Civics. Nah. Lo civil. No. There's not a good definition. Not a good equivalent in Spanish. Civics. The study or science of the privileges and obligations of citizens. All right. That's interesting. El estudio o la ciencia de los privilegios y las obligaciones de la ciudadanía. Now, in Spain, there's a certain type of subject. It's something de la ciudadanía. I can't remember what it's called. I'm sure you remember, but I can't think offhand of what it's called. Civics. Algo de la ciudadanía. In los colegios. And so I'm going to try to find it. If I can find it. De la ciudadanía. But I don't know if I'll be able to find it. Yes. Educación para la ciudadanía. That's a difficult word to say. Citizenship. Well, in English too. Sí, educación para la ciudadanía. All right. In English, it's called civics, maybe. Education for citizenship and human rights. Educación para la ciudadanía y los derechos humanos. That's the course, and many people in Spain are against this idea. It depends on how the course, human rights I would leave out, but civics, no, I think it's a very good course. But it depends on how it's formulated and how it's organized and things like that. All right, but let's go on. Are members of parliament in the UK often called MPs? Well, often, no, always. miembro del Parlamento, an MP. If you're speaking with Brits, it's very common to hear them say, I have a friend of mine is an MP. A friend of mine is an MP. If you say that in the United States, people will not know you're saying member of parliament. In the U.S., people say, oh, he's a member of the military police. A military policeman. Policía militar. An MP. And so in the U.S. we say MPs. During the Second World War, there were tens of thousands of American troops stationed in Great Britain. And of course, with so many people, like 100,000 young men, you have to control them a little bit because they can easily get out of control, living on the military base and going into town to play darts in the pub. And so there were MPs, military police, members of the American military, whose job was to control the soldiers, and they were called MPs. But in UK, an MP, or in Ireland, an MP, and I think in Australia as well, and New Zealand, MP is a member of parliament, an MP. Y fíjense que digo an MP, porque la letra M, cuando se dice M, empieza por el sonido de vocal E, M. So an MP. So we put an in front of vowel sounds, an MP. And I've never met, as far as I can remember, a British MP. Member of Parliament. Okay, another question. Is the Gobi Desert in China and Mongolia? Yes, it is. It's a very important desert. The Gobi Desert. It's a big desert. I think it's bigger than Spain, to tell you the truth. The biggest desert in the world is the Sahara Desert. Deserts ranked by size. Okay, let me try to think. The biggest desert in the world is the Sahara Desert. I would say the second biggest is the Arabian Desert. What is it? Saudi Arabia, Yemen. I would say that's the second biggest. The third biggest desert in the world, I would say, is the Gobi Desert in China and in Mongolia. But then, after that, I don't know. But let's find out. Deserts ranked by size. Se me olvidará uno. Let's see. List of deserts by area. The biggest is Antarctica. Okay. Oh, it is true that the driest point on the planet is in Antarctica. That's the area of this desert, the Desierto Antarctica, is 14 million square kilometers, and it's a desert, according to this list. The second is the Arctic. What? Here it depends on your definition of a desert. El Desierto Ártico. Alaska, Canada, Finland, donde por lo visto llueve muy poco. All right. And then number 3 is the Sahara Desert. 9,000 square kilometers, 9 million, square kilometers, which means Spain would fit. Peninsular Spain would fit into this maybe 18 times. So it's a big desert. And the next is the Australia. I forgot Australia, of course. The Australian desert. 2.7 million square kilometers. So you could fit the Spain maybe 14 times into this. And then the Arabian desert is 2.3 million square kilometers. Then the Gobi. So the Gobi Desert, 1.3 million. 1,300,000 square kilometers. So the Gobi Desert, Spain fits 2.5 times. You can fit Spain, acerca de España, 2 veces y medio dentro del desierto del Gobi. The Gobi Desert, yes sir. And then the Kalahari Desert in Africa in Angola. I think it's in Namibia in that area, but I'm not sure. I think it's in Namibia, the Kalahari Desert, but I'm not sure. The Kalahari Desert is a large savanna in southern Africa, extending for 900,000 square kilometers, covering much of Botswana, parts of Namibia, and regions of South Africa. All right, Botswana, Namibia, and South Africa. I always forget Botswana. I always forget that country. So deserts. So the question here, is the Gobi Desert in China and Mongolia? Yes, it is. And the Gobi Desert has been very, very important in the history of the Mongols and the Chinese and the Tibetans and many people in the Uyghurs and people who live on the original Central Asian steppe. The Gobi Desert was an important obstacle, to tell you the truth, for the movement of people. They had to go south of the Gobi Desert or north of the Gobi Desert. And if you go south of the Gobi Desert, well, it could be a problem because you're on the altiplano. You're very, very high because you're approaching Tibet and you're approaching the Himalaya. The Gobi Desert. Yes, sir. I've never been to the Gobi Desert. Never been there. But it's big. Long desert. And has had a very strong impact on Eastern history. Let's go on, shall we? Would you rather be poor in Sweden or rich in Bangladesh? Well, that's easy. I'd rather be rich in Bangladesh than poor in Sweden. Of course, people say, you don't care to be in Bangladesh. Bangladesh is a poor country. Sweden is a rich country, yes. But here's my question again. Would you rather be a middle-class citizen in Sweden, not poor? Would you rather be a middle-class citizen in Sweden or a rich citizen in Bangladesh? Me? I would rather be a rich citizen of Bangladesh because I can live in a beautiful house with many servants and I can fly to Tahiti, I can fly to Dubai, I can fly to London or Paris or Rome or New York or Buenos Aires, anywhere, if I'm rich. So yeah. Now, another question. Would you rather be a middle-class citizen of Spain or a rich person in Greenland? Now, Greenland, what's the population? Greenland. I don't know. Greenland. The population, let me see, we can find out. Groenlandia. What's the population of Greenland? It is 56,000 people. All right. Small. Maybe the size of Guadalajara Ciudad. I don't know. Something like that. So it's small. The population is very small. Now, imagine living in Greenland, but you're rich. You can fly out of Greenland anywhere you want to go, but let's say you have to live half the year in Greenland, or be a middle-class member of Spanish society. I don't know. I would rather be a rich man in Greenland, to tell you the truth. Yeah. Because a rich person in Greenland, you can have TV, you have everything you need in Greenland. Groenlandia, it should be called, in Spanish, it should be Verdelandia. And Iceland should be called in Spanish Ielandia, because that's what it is. But you took the English word or the Danish word of Greenland and you just modified it a little bit to Spanishize it. Would you rather, preferiría, would you rather be a hammer or a nail? Pues ni el uno, martillo o clavo. I'd rather be a hammer. I'd rather be a hammer than a nail. Yes, I would, if I could. Would you rather be a, I don't know, would you rather be an airline pilot or a bus driver? I'd rather be an airline pilot. Would you rather be a carpenter or a plumber? I'd rather be a carpenter because it can be more creative. Would you rather be an English teacher or a sound technician? I'd rather be an English teacher. Would you rather be an engineer or a lawyer? I'd rather be an engineer. Would you rather be a mathematician or a biologist? Oh, that's a difficult question. A biologist, if it includes all areas of biology, like microbiology and genetic biology, I think I'd rather be a biologist than a mathematician. Well, okay, fine. But would you rather be an industrialist or a movie star? Oh, well, I'd rather be a movie star, of course, but a famous movie star. How much does an actor make? Sometimes an actor can make $10, $15, or $20 million for a film. Imagine if I'm making a film and I want the film to be successful, and the perfect actor would be Jack Nicholson. But Jack Nicholson costs $15 million. What do? Do I use cheaper actors or less expensive actors? Or do I agree to pay Jack Nicholson $15 million for the film? That's a dilemma. That's a dilemma because the film will need to make probably $40 million just to cover all of the expenses. And you can find an actor for $1 million who could do Jack Nicholson's role, but his name doesn't attract people to the movie theater. You want people to go to the movie theater, the cinema, to watch your movie. And if the actor is Jack Nicholson, the likelihood that people will go is much greater than if you put John Evans in the leading role. John Evans and Patricia Smith. Well, even if the movie is the best movie in the history of cinematography, if the two leading actors are John Evans and Patricia Smith, you might have trouble attracting people to the movie and making money. But if it's Jack Nicholson and Meryl Streep, or Jack Nicholson and Faye Dunaway, or somebody more recent, Jack Nicholson and, I don't know, some of the more recent, Michelle Williams, maybe people will go. Maybe people will go. So would you rather, if it is, would you rather speak perfect English or perfect French? Would you rather have a Ferrari or speak perfect English? Would you rather have $1 million in your bank account right now, or a pill, una pastilla, that gives you perfect English? I'll give you this possibility. Here in my right hand, I have a pill. You take it, and in 20 minutes, after the pill dissolves in your stomach and penetrates into your system, you will speak perfect English and understand perfect English for the rest of your life. Okay, that's one. The other choice, $1 million, €1 million in your bank account. That would be interesting. If I went out on the street with €1 million in a big box and the pill, I would guess that maybe 90 or 99% of the people would take the money. Forget the English language. I want the money. €1 million? My God. If suddenly there's €1 million in your bank account, do you think you could live the rest of your life on that money without working? Imagine. I'll give you this option. Leave your job, quit your job, quit the company where you work or whatever, and I'll give you €1 million. Tax-free. Tax-free. Libre de impuestos. What would you do? Would you take the money, €1 million, and quit your job, but you can't work for the rest of your life? which means you need to administrate that money very carefully. It's tax-free. Well, when you buy things, you pay VAT. Así vas, cuando gastas dinero hay IVA que se paga. But that's an indirect, it's an indirect tax. And, so what, do you think you could do it? You think you could live the rest? I couldn't. With €1 million? Yes, I could. I could. Because I have about 20 years left. So I could easily, with €1 million, I think. That would be 50,000 euros a year. Sure. I can live easily on 50,000 euros a year. No problem. So $1 million for me, but you, maybe you're 35 or 40, let's say you're 40 years old. You have another 40 years or 50. You probably have 50 years. And so that's 20,000 euros a year. So what you have to do with that money is you take 30,000 of it and put it in your current account or checking account. And then the other 970,000 euros, put it into an interest-bearing account, una cuenta con intereses, a savings account, or similar, an investment. But be careful. I recommend a conservative investment. And so it's the money is starting to work for you. And if you can get 4% return, which is not easy nowadays, let's say a 3% return. You get a 3% return on your money. Well, with 970,000 euros in the bank times 0.03, the first year, you will make 29,000 euros. However, in interest, that will be taxed. And so it's probably about 24,000. But nevertheless, the money is starting to grow a little bit. I imagine that maybe you could live the next 50 years on €1 million, but you need to be really careful because you can't spend more than 20,000 euros a year unless you find good investments for the idle cash. Idle cash means el dinero en efectivo ocioso que no estás usando. Disponible, pero no lo vas a usar este año. So, you invest the money, but be careful with your investments. Conservative investments. All right. Would you rather have 2 spouses or €1 million? 2 spouses? ¿Qué es un spouse? What's a spouse? Spouse es un cónyuge. 2 cónyuges, 2 maridos o 2 mujeres. Or €1 million. Whew, easy. Give me €1 million. 2 spouses cost €1 million. No. I'll take the money. I'll take the money. Por cierto, by the way, when you go to a restaurant in the English-speaking world and you order something, we always say, I'll have. When the waiter comes, may I help you? Yes, I'll have octopus for the first course and I'll have a steak for the second. I'll take is yo me quedo con este. I'll take this. I'll take these shoes, not the others. Me quedo con estos zapatos. Compro estos. I'll take. But I'll have is when you go to a restaurant. So, would you rather... I'll take the money. Not 2 spouses, not 2 wives. No, thank you. I'll take the money. Would you rather be a computer expert or a taxi driver? I'd rather be a computer expert. But, the problem with working as a taxi driver is you spend too many hours sitting. I'm not necessarily against the idea of driving a taxi, but I think you just spend too many hours, 10 hours sitting in a car 4, 5, or 6 days a week. I don't think I would like it. Would you rather live in Mexico or in Paraguay? I don't know. I've never been to Paraguay. I imagine it's very interesting. I think Asunción, the capital, is maybe 500,000 people, 600,000 people. I think Asunción, the capital of Paraguay, is the same size as Zaragoza in Spain. I imagine it's a nice city. Whereas Mexico City, I would not want to live in Mexico City. It's too crowded. too much traffic congestion. I think if I had to choose, I would be tempted to choose Paraguay. But I've never been there, so I really can't give you an opinion. Would you rather live in Rome or in Paris? That's a good question. If I have money, I'd rather live in Rome. But if I'm middle class, I'd rather live in Paris. Would you rather live in London or in New York? I'd rather live in New York. Would you rather continue this class or stop? Well, neither one, but I have to stop. See you tomorrow.